Alright, so we got a 2001 Honda Accord in here. It's got the little 4-cylinder in it. It's making a belt noise. It's pretty obnoxious. Someone actually told them it was probably the timing belt, which I'm about 99.999% sure it's not the timing belt. Usually a timing belt won't make noise unless there's a tensioner or something going out on it. And I don't believe that's it. Now on these cars, these years, you have the power steering belt and then the alternator belt. And I don't think it's the power steering belt making the noise because I'm not losing any. I just pulled it in the garage. I don't notice anything wrong with the steering. It's not. If your belt was slipping on your power steering, it may get tight and then loose, or you feel it in the steering a little bit. Something just seems kind of off with it, and I don't feel that. And just by listening to it, it's the alternator belt. Is what I think it is. And I'll show you how I go about diagnosing. It's a pretty simple video. It's just if you have a noise like this. Basically, the reason why I'm making this video, if you have a noise like this, I'm just going to kind of show you how you can kind of figure out what it is on your own without taking it anywhere. So I'll go ahead and start it up, let you listen to it. Alright. So there's two possibilities in my opinion here. You either have an alternator bearing going out on it, or the belt itself is going out. I did check the belt on it, and it is pretty tight. So what we're going to do, I was thinking about just taking the power steering pump off the belt and then listening to it, just to kind of show you. I know that's not what it is, but just to kind of show you. But I think what I'm going to do is just tighten up the alternator belt and see if I can get it to go away. If it does go away, then we'll go ahead and change the belt on it and go from there. But if it doesn't go away after it's tight, which it's already, it probably could be tightened up a little bit. The belt looks pretty old, looks pretty worn. So we'll probably replace the belt. What I'm going to do first is go ahead and tighten the belt and see if it goes away. Alright, so these Honda Accords here this year, you have a 12 millimeter nut down here underneath the pulley. It's 12 millimeter, loosen that up. You have the 14 millimeter up here at the top, it's the main one, and then right here underneath you have a 10 millimeter. You have a 10 millimeter bolt. Right there, and that's what tensions it. So what you're going to do is loosen those two, the nut and the bolt, and then tighten this up, and then that should tighten your alternator up, and just turn that until the belt feels really tight. So I went ahead and did that already. We're going to go ahead and start it and see if it makes a difference. You can kind of see here on the outside this belt's pretty worn. This you can just tell it's really worn right here, especially on this outer edge. So we'll go ahead and start it. I got a feeling it's going to be quiet now. And then we'll just change the belt on it. And we should be good. Let me put you back up here. Now I just tightened the tensioner. I haven't tightened the other bolts back up. It'll be fine just to test it. And make sure we don't have something bigger going on with the alternator or something. But I feel pretty confident. Alright, so you can see the difference there. It's quiet now. So you can see that's the difference. It was just, I tightened it up quite a bit. It wasn't really that loose, in my opinion, but the belt's just kind of wore out and old. So I'm going to go ahead and order a belt, and then I'll show you how to take the power steering belt off. And then we'll take that alternator belt off and change it, and then kick it out of here. But I just kind of wanted to go over it and show you if you have a noise similar to that, what you can do to kind of eliminate it. Now, get you a little bit closer here. If you're not sure what belt it is, or maybe you are having, the simplest way on something like this is you have two belts. You could take off this belt first and then start it up. If you still have the noise, then you eliminate your power steering pump as an issue. You could try to tighten the alternator like I did and see if it made a change in it. If it didn't make a change in it, then you're going to be looking at, the AC is not on, but so you can check and see if your clutch is on the AC. Maybe that's making noise, the alternator. The bearings do make a similar noise to that if they're going out. So that was another possibility on it. And then if you take that belt off and just run the car for a few minutes, not a few minutes, even 30, 40 seconds, take both belts off, run the engine. If you do suspect a timing belt or tensioner on the timing belt, if you take both your belts off and start it up, it's still making a noise like that, then you're looking at maybe a timing tensioner or something like that. That would be very rare. Usually a timing belt doesn't make noise. And usually the tensioners don't make that kind of noise. I mean, yes, they can. I understand that. I've dealt with that in the past, but it's very rare. Normally you hear a noise like that. Normally a timing belt won't make any noise at all. It'll just go out. If it's getting ready to go out, they don't slip like a normal belt does. You know, it's cog driven. So normally it's just a silent killer as far as that goes. It just goes, it'll break, and then your engine's, if you have an interference engine, then you're looking at all kinds of issue. If it's not an interference engine, then you're going to be okay and just get towed or whatever. But it is possible to have a tensioner in the timing belt make a noise, but that's very low down the list, and that's easy to eliminate. Just take your belt off and run the car for 10 or 15, 30 seconds. If it's quiet, then you know it's something on the outside of the engine. The other possibility, too, is a water pump can make a screeching noise, and that would be something that, another thing to look at. So that's how I eliminate these noises. It's on some of the cars with the serpentine belt, it's a little harder because if you take off the belt, you're taking off everything at one time, and then you can't. You have to go one by one. I'll grab all the pulleys and spin them and see if there's any play in them, etc. And then kind of diagnose it from there. But anyway, this one's just going to be a belt. So I'm going to order the belt and go get it, and then we'll come back. I'll show you how to take these belts off and on, and then we'll end this thing out. So this should be a pretty easy fix and pretty not very expensive. So we'll go ahead and get the belt, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so get the alternator belt off. We got to take the power steering belt off first. So you're going to have a 12mm bolt right here in the front, right there. And then you got a 12mm in the back, right there where that ratchet's going. See if I can move it out of the way. That little nut right there, that'll loosen the pump up, and you can put a 1/2-inch breaker bar or ratchet or whatever you have and kind of manipulate the pump. That's how you're going to tighten and loosen it. So right now it's loose, and it just fell out. So you're just going to pull that off and pull it out, and then the alternator again, you have the big 14mm under here, right there. You just loosen that one, and then you have a 12mm or 10mm underneath. I think I can get you in there. It's basically right here, and then you have the 10mm here to adjust it, and you're just going to loosen that up. Bring you over here. And you're just going to loosen that 10mm up right there, and that will bring the alternator down and allow you to pull the belt off. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen that up, and then we'll pull the belt off. So I just got a regular deep well 10mm ratchet on it. And you don't have to take it all the way out, just get it loose. It should drop the alternator enough where you can slip the belt off. So I still got a little bit to go here. It's still pretty tight. So I'm going to keep loosening it. Just don't take it all the way out, otherwise you have to thread it back into that other the little tensioner thing. So I'll keep loosening it, and then we'll pull this belt off. Alright, so here's the old alternator belt. You can see here it's cracked. basically all the way around. It's got a lot of cracks in it. It's old. The other side's kind of worn. Looks like may have went off track at one point or something, but may have fell off. But you can see all around the edges is cracked everywhere, so it needs to be replaced. And we'll go ahead and do that. So the good thing about these, it only goes through your harmonic balancer, your alternator, your AC. So we're just going to fish that new belt in and tighten it up, and then put the power steering belt back on. Alright, as long as you didn't take your bolt out too far, you should be able to just tighten it down now, your tensioner, without, just tighten it down. If you took your bolt out too far, it'll actually come loose from the tensioner or the bolt combo thing down there, and you have to thread it back in. So I know I didn't take mine down too far, so we'll just go ahead and run this in. And you can see right there, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but the alternator is raising up, so you're just going to raise up to that belt's tight. Easy to get about right there. And then just kind of feel it. You want a couple inches of play in it. So I'm just going to tighten it till most of the play is out of it. You don't want to go too tight because then you ruin the belt quicker, and you could actually get noise from that too. Alright, it's starting to feel pretty tight. So I'm just going to start it up real quick and make sure it's not going to hurt it with the power steering belt off. And we'll see if it makes any noise. It shouldn't. I think it's about perfect where it's at, and then we'll tighten up the other two bolts. Every time. Alright, you can see there it's quiet. So we're going to switch over to our 12mm deep well and tighten the two bolts. Actually, what am I saying? The top one's 14mm. So your top big one up here is 14mm. And I'm going to put a regular ratchet on it, get it a little bit tighter. And then your bottom bolt down there, I think I said 10mm on accident earlier. It's actually, it should be 12mm, I believe. And you want to make sure he's pretty tight. So I'm going to go do the 12mm down below. It's not, you don't have to get under the car, it's just under. So you just got to look down underneath the alternator. Right underneath the pulley, basically. And we're going to tighten that 12. Right there is tight, but I'm going to put my regular ratchet on it. Give it a little more of a tug on it. And then your alternator should be done. And you just want to go over it, make sure you're on all your pulleys straight. Like I said, you're only going around your engine balancer and your crankshaft pulley and your AC on these. These are pretty, and then you got your own belt for the power steering. So I'm just tightening this up. Don't want that slipping. And the power steering belt doesn't look too bad. We'll put that back on. It's definitely in a lot better shape than the other one was. And then once you get that on, get your 1/2 inch, whatever you're going to use, either a pry bar or a breaker bar or a ratchet. And just put a bunch of tension on it, make sure the belt's tight. And go ahead and tighten that back one, which is with the adjuster. That's the one that adjusts it. That's 12mm. Careful of your alternator wires here. And again, I'm just going to, once you get that one tight, you should be able to take the tension off of that. I'm just going to go with a regular ratchet and double check it. Milwaukee's a great ratchet, electric ratchet, but you will want to go over it again and then tighten this top one with the regular ratchet. Same with breaking them loose. They say, Milwaukee said you can break them loose, and I usually do break most bolts loose with it, but there is times I don't feel comfortable doing it, so I use a regular ratchet. It's a lot cheaper to break a regular ratchet than it is electrical. So that's it. That's all there is to these belts on these Hondas. Pretty simple. I know it's a simple video, but if you got a noise like that and you're not sure what to do or how to fix it, and don't really work on cars that much, this might help somebody out and kind of show you where you need to loosen and how to adjust it and everything. So that's pretty much it. And this is the AC and alternator belt combo from O'Reilly's. So I think that's about it. Not much else to say about this one. I hope you got something out of it. Thanks for watching, and as always, God bless.